Alright, so 2000 Jeep Cherokee here. We're going to go ahead and replace the alternator. And reason we're doing this is when you start the car, it will give you voltage and then it will not give you voltage. And what I mean is, we'll sit here and give it a minute. There we go. And your check gauges will come on. But if you give it a little gas, not that much, just enough to get the alternator spinning, we come right back up and you see the check gauges. So okay, for the alternator on our 2000 Jeep Cherokee, 15 millimeter 3/8 drive, 15 millimeter, another 15 millimeter. This one's actually ratcheting. This was really good for the tensioner pulley bolt to actually get in there and get around the shroud. Plenty of extensions, 3/8 drive ratchet. And then down here, there's two wires on the alternator. This is an 8 millimeter, and then this is a 10 millimeter that we use with the 3/8 drive ratchet. Then over here we have team fan. This was basically the tools we needed to get the nuts for the fan off, to get the fan off, and then put the fan back on and tighten them down. These are 1/2 inch. And this one again is ratcheting. All right, so the first step in this is you want to disconnect your negative battery terminal. There we go. So what you want to go for is the actual bolt head here, because this is your tensioner pulley. So you have to loosen this because this pulley is locked in place. And then right here, you actually can move that pulley to detension the belt and get the belt off. It wasn't much tighter than finger tight. I thought I was really gonna have to struggle to get that loose. 15 millimeter, this is a 15 millimeter way down here. You can kind of see it there. And so we got that loose, so now we can actually take the tensioner, and that's another 15 millimeter, and we can start detensioning the belt. So we're just getting a belt routing diagram here because my shroud that I think the original OEM belt diagram is on is broken. So we're gonna just get a quick video of it here to show. Okay, so we got two wires here. Just wanna go ahead and unplug that one. Then this is actually a cap, so you don't get water and fry your electrical system. That's a 10 millimeter here. There we go. Perfect. Okay, with the alternator bracket here, there's 3 nuts there. There's a 4th one a little further up. You can't really see that well. Then there's a couple bolts here. And there's another one right here. Right here. And that one is actually feeling like a 14 millimeter, but the rest of these are 15. So we're gonna go ahead and pull these apart now. All right, so we got a flex ratchet here, and go ahead. There's that. Okay, so we didn't really want to take the fan off, but at the end of the day, it's going to be a lot easier getting the belt back on and getting to that last alternator bolt. Okay, so we have all the nuts off here, and thanks to my shroud being broken here, you don't have to take the shroud off, but be careful and don't run this fan directly into your radiator. There it is. All right, so take 2. It's amazing. You get the fan out of the way and all this room you suddenly have. I gotta get under there and support the alternator. A little more nut here to get off to get the bracket fully apart and off the car. Okay, yeah, so we kind of lost this footage, so we went to our local Advanced Auto Parts and picked up a new alternator. There's a part number on the screen, and you can find this at any Advanced Auto Parts. With that, let's go ahead and get this installed on the Cherokee, shall we? One other quick thing here, this bolt is about 6 to 8 inches long, and there's a nut on the back side of it. It actually goes through the brackets on the alternator and a bracket mounted to the engine, so be prepared for that. So these steel bolts are actually going into the aluminum of the bracket and the alternator, and you're going to be able to hear a little bit of difference. Like, listen to this when you hear it tighten. And that's a pretty consistent sound. You won't hear it every single time, but all right, let's go ahead and put these back down here. Is it sitting flush? Is it just, there we go.
Okay. Put this back on. Is that? Yeah, there we go.
So we're gonna go ahead and put the fan back on, and I felt as I was pulling this off that this was a little bit of a press fit in here, so I'm gonna finagle this in, or is it finagle? How do you say it, Jay?
Finagle.
Finagle. So my double wrench trick for getting these loose earlier is not really helpful for tightening, so I'm just using the screwdriver here, and one by one, making sure these are torqued down. Just doing a quick check, make sure we got the right belt, the right part number, but just making sure it's the right actual length. We're gonna go ahead and put it on now. All right, so that. So we're just gonna do this. All right, so we got the new alternator on, and we just did a test fire, and it seems to be working good. So when you start this thing, climbs right up to 14 volts and no issues at all. Looks like it's doing fine.